Okay, so welcome to Beauty of Colors podcast, Faust. It's great to have you on the show.
And thanks so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be spending time with you.
You're very welcome. So tell the listeners about you and what started you on this journey, being a research author, a clinical trainer, and a therapist.
Clem, I've been doing this all my life. I'm one of those people where, I was not one of those people where you said, let me see what I'm going to do with my life. Life knew what it was going to do with me from the beginning. I was going to be the person that was going to be attached to people. I love to be around them even after all this time, to be in service of people. That's what I do. That's what makes me feel good. And it's my gift. That's what I'm good at doing.
And how long have you been doing this?
Well, I came out of graduate school in 1979, so I am in my 44th year.
Wow, that is nice. So, Frost, you developed a process way of life counseling program. What does this program entail?
Well, when you come out of graduate school and any other educational program, they teach you things that what you do this, you should do this, and then as you do it, you throw a few out, you bring a few in. And what I found was that we run our life by process, just like your body runs processes, breathing and all those kinds of things. Things like honesty and love and respect for each other and learning how to regulate your life, timing, all those kinds of things. I found that all these processes, if people learned how to do them properly, their lives became that much better. So I began using it in my counseling programs, over 25 years ago, and people really started to respond. So, now, kids are all out of the way and it's just, we're home alone. I said, well, I'm going to start writing. And I put that into a text. And that was the first book, the Fix Yourself Handbook. We've just finished the Fix Your Anxiety Handbook, and I am writing the Fix Your Depression Handbook. So it's a constant series. We're going to do about 7 or 8 books.
That's good. So you talk about anxiety a lot. So what are the leading causes of anxiety and how can one get about fixing that problem?
Anxiety, I like to tell people to focus on your body first. Everyone looks for something that makes them anxious, but really take a person that doesn't have anxiety, they don't react the same way to those triggers and those stressors. So you want to learn how to train your body to do what it needs to do to be healthy, to sleep right, to have the proper diet, to go slower. We have a society that goes so fast. We're always on the go. We're putting pressure on each other. We're attacking each other for foolish things over and over again. If we can move those things out of our lives, the stress goes way down. That's the starting spot. Have a healthy body. The second thing I go to is emotions. We react emotionally to everything. You see a post on Facebook and then you get emotional and then you think you have to either like it or respond and pick a fight. And this person says something and you don't like that person's view. And it's okay not to like their view, but to let that just tear through you and make you feel so emotional and angry. We need to pull back on that. Just take a step back, catch your breath. I always tell people, you don't have to respond. Let people be who they want to be. There's nothing wrong with that. You'll learn from them. I mean, you'll learn something new. Relax. Let this world, take care of itself. Stop focusing on everything else. Everything we do, we focus on outside of ourselves. Power is in here, not out there. And we're trying to follow along. So as we stop following people and we stop reacting, the stress level goes down. And then it's just about the way we think and we speak, that intellectual part, the way you speak to yourself, the way you speak in your own mind is what you're going to do with everyone else. So if you're speaking angry thoughts and depressed things and fear and all those things, that's what comes out. So it's, you start learning how to retrain your brain, I call it, and just, start to do things that don't put you in a position to be angry and anxious all the time.
So you said that you've published 2 books and you guys are doing a series of books, up to 8 books, you said.
Mm-hmm.
Are the message in the 2 books, are they similar or are the 2 books tailored to different groups?
It's a good question. When I wrote the first book, I wanted it to be something everyone could read. and benefit from. And I remember the publisher saying, no, you have to pick a target audience. They always do that. You've written books, you know that.
Yeah.
Who's your target audience? And I said, everyone. Everyone can use these processes. I don't care. And what I've done transcends age and race and religion and culture. It should. We all have basically the same types of feelings and the same problems. And, we think the same. We think it's different, but really the processes are the same, so we can all use it. So we started with the flagship book, that first book. That's 36 chapters of all different kinds of problems. And it has a certain design that I wrote. I want short chapters so people don't get bogged down. And I want action steps at the end of every chapter. So when you say, if I'm dealing with anger, at the end of the chapter, I say, now do all these things. And which is just what you asked me before. How do you do this when we talked about anxiety? Well, you do it. These are the things you do at the end of every chapter. I don't see that much in self-help books. So we did that. So we went with Fix Yourself Handbook first. Fix Your Anxiety Handbook is second. We're doing Fix Your Depression Handbook next. And the fourth book is going to be Fix Your Discrimination Handbook, which is really going to be an interesting one. I'm looking forward to writing that. But I think we needed these two first. Anxiety and depression are just so rampant through our country, through the world. So we're going to go there, and then discrimination and relationships and things like that will follow.
Would you say that anxiety and depression, does those two go hand in hand? Can somebody be depressed and have anxiety, or do they have to have both at the same time?
No, it's different. And that's what I write to people.
Okay.
For people, there's the general things, if you have anxiety or depression, everyone gets these particular components. But then I always say you have your particular monster, your own personal monster. Mm-hmm. So, we are individuals, so we know we're going to process something specific to ourselves. But then we're part of society. We're part of a greater whole. So we're going to get a lot of the things everyone gets. Some people have only depression. Some people have only anxiety. Some people get both. Sometimes one triggers the other. Sometimes it's the other way around. Mm-hmm. When I counsel people, I always look for all those kinds of things. Let's see what your particular anxiety or depression is all about, because then that tells me how I want to treat you with that.
So you said that there has been a shortcoming in the way self-help books are written. What do you mean by that?
I think a lot of times they give great information, and and people will put the book down and I'll say, did you learn from that? And they said, yes. I said, okay, how are you going to implement it? And then they look at me. I said, well, I'm sure that the author must have said, do these kinds of things. They said, no, not really. They kind of moved in that direction, or they said to do these things, but they didn't show me how. So I want to, I wrote the books like I do a counseling session. If you came to me for counseling, I would say, here's the information we're looking at today. Now, for next week, think about doing these things. If you can do those and begin to incorporate these into your life, you're going to see things change. You have to just be consistent about it. And that's what they're coming back and telling me. This is the thing, when the book was reviewed, they all came back and said that was the different component where he said, do these things and do them like this. And then you're going to see some changes.
Okay. So does both books, do they have pictures in it? Is it, do they have visual in it, or is it just words in there?
I have some graphs, but and tables, but I don't do pictures and things like that. When we did the research on, because being a researcher, I do research on what I'm going to do before I do it. And we found that the pictures and things tended to distract people. And so I want to keep them focused on point. That's also why the chapters are 5-6 pages, because that's the way people read today. I think, people read headlines and they skim things and they come up with a conclusion. So I thought, well, what if we made the information factual and efficient and incorporated that design and then got to the steps? It would be good. So they're not 30 or 40 pages long where they might get lost. And that's not saying there's anything wrong with the way people are writing. It's just the way people are reading today. They go real fast. They want conclusions real quick. We're a quick fix society. So I thought, let me incorporate that, but my way. We'll bait them in.
So with a handbook like your work, would a handbook like yours, what you have, your 2 books, would that work for everybody with anxiety disorder?
Yes. That's again, it comes from the research and from the counseling that I do. So everything I'm doing in the books, I do when I counsel. So I'm able to have that firsthand knowledge. People say, well, will it work? And I'm not just saying, well, yeah, I've researched it. I'm not only research it, I apply it every day. I'll see people tonight, I'll see people for the rest of the week, and many of them have anxiety, and I'll be using exactly what's in those books in my counseling sessions.
But do you use like various methods for different people, or do you just use a certain particular method for every
No, I tailor everything I do to the person.
Okay.
So I have all these things you're talking about available to me, but then I'm going to pick and choose which one goes for this person and that person. Sometimes they're the same, but most of the time, I mean, if you're coming from a certain family background, living in a certain place, you've experienced maybe abuse or something. I'm not going to use the same components that I use with someone who's maybe just has a difficult time in a marriage and maybe has some physical issues. We're gonna look at. I'm going to do an in-depth analysis, so to speak, in all your problems. Then I'm going to go find the processes and everything that works specifically for you.
So what resources do you have available, and how can the listeners get in touch with you?
The best place to get in touch with me is my website, my name, faustruggiero.com. When people get there, everything about the books, the program, everything I do is there. I've listed it there, and we put it there so people can see it. It's very transparent. You can look and say, gee, there's excerpts from the books. There's all the kind of things that are there. Do I like this? If I like it, I buy it. There's a contact link if they want to contact me. I'm always available, and I get back to people real quickly.
Okay. So are your books only on your website, or is it also on Amazon and other bookstores as well?
Amazon and other bookstores, yeah. They are there in paperback, Kindle, and audiobooks.
Okay, sounds great. So do you have any last words for the listeners to help them along their journey in life and free from anxiety?
Absolutely. The best thing I tell people, and I gave those things to you in the beginning, slow down. Don't be so reactive to things. Understand one concept, and I teach, this is the center of what I teach. You have everything inside you to be happy. We were created, the Lord created us to be happy, wonderful people. We're doing things that pull us away from that. Don't worry about the outside world. Let them do what they want to do. If you want to do some things, they're fine, but focus on you. Focus on what's inside you. Get to know you and how you operate. There's your power.
Wow, great message. Well, thank you for being on Beauty of Colors podcast.
Oh, it has been my pleasure. Thanks so much for asking me.